And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. So tonight, I actually have my good friend Tamika with me. We're here to break down Man of Steel. So we're gonna try not to pop some necks. We're gonna try to do this with a great review of Superman, Man of Steel. So tell me what you guys' thoughts are while we're doing the show, or if you catch us on the audio, go on ahead, comment, email us, and tell us what you think. And come on, and let's go on ahead. Let's review Man of Steel scene by scene. Hey, Tamika, how are you?
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing much.
Oh,
Doing
sorry.
really good on a Friday night, talking about a little Man of Steel. How's it going
Yeah,
for you?
I know, right? I'm excited.
I am too. I'm so excited that I could actually pop some necks. How about that? Okay, so let's talk about this. Okay,
Oh, okay.
so here's a little bit of trivia that I found, and actually I knew about this back whenever let's see here, Cabin in the Woods came out and stuff like that. But David S. Goyer actually convinced the idea of Man of Steel during a 1 week writing break from The Dark Knight Rises. He then wrote 2-page treatment during this period, which ultimately evolved into a screenplay. During his break from working on The Dark Knight Rises with Christopher Nolan, Goyer revisited early issues of Action Comics and where Superman's first appearance was. This led him to develop the initial 2-page treatment for Man of Steel, while the exact time frame of the initial writing process after the 2-page treatment is now explicitly mentioned. It's clear that Goyer's idea for the film was sparked by his time off from another project. So that's a little bit of trivia from that.
Okay. Pretty cool.
So let's. So my question for you, Tamika, whenever you look at Man of Steel, it's 2013.
Okay, yes.
We're still kind of young. We're not
Okay.
that. We're in our 20s.
I'm trying to go back.
And
Mm-hmm.
what does a 20-something Tamika think of 2013
Oh,
Superman?
she thought it was awesome because she saw it in the theaters. So it was 10 times awesome to her.
But what did you think? What would you give this like nostalgically for you?
9.7.
9.7. Okay.
Yeah.
So I actually saw this movie twice in theaters.
Oh, damn it. You're so lucky.
The first time was with my friend John, and we were running late. We actually sat in the front row, which sucks because I'm like this the whole entire time looking up. So I went back a second time to really watch the film again because my neck was hurting. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the storytelling of it. I thought it was a very different and unique take on Superman. Yes, it deals with the origin story of Superman and stuff like that too, but at the same time doing something totally unique and a little bit different than what we got with the Christopher Reeves version of Superman. But still, I ended up enjoying it for what it is. So, and yes, there are some things that I didn't like with it that I still have issues with. We'll get into that later, but you know, I'm gonna have to give this at least a 7.5.
Oh, nostalgic. Okay.
Nostalgically. That's before we remove the nostalgia now. That's
okay.
So, but yeah, so let's go on ahead. Let's break this down. So, scene 1, Man of Steel. So scene 1, and here we go. Faster than a Zack Snyder slow motion shot, more powerful than a Kryptonian scream, able to cause mass property damage with a single punch. That's right. We're talking about Man of Steel.
Yes, John. I know my line. I'm coming.
Okay.
That's right. We're talking Man of Steel, the movie that asks, what if Superman saved Earth by absolutely wrecking half of it first?
Henry Cavill's Superman, serious, brooding, and allergic to smiling. And let's not forget the villain Michael Shannon as General Zod, who's yelling, could power the entire Eastern Seaboard.
We're diving into this epic. No, sorry. Take 2. we're diving into the epic, the controversial, and yes, the moment when Superman introduces Zod to the concept of neck snapping diplomacy. I hate John.
No, you don't. This is why you come on the show, so you can do this kind of stuff.
Okay. Rolling. Okay, action.
So grab your red cape, ignore all structure damage, and join us as we ask, was Man of Steel the hero of the DCEU deserved, or just one it in hold on, or just the one hit crash landed with?
Yes.
Let's go on ahead. Let's review this scene by scene.
Okay.
Scene 1. We have on the planet Krypton, Laura Vaughn gives birth to a son named Kal-El with the help of her husband, Jor-El Ladder. Jor travels to Kandor on his pet Raka, where he stands in front of the Kryptonian Law Council, warning them that the planet is about to collapse because of the Council's decision to harvest the planet core to serve their civilization depleted energy reserves. They dismissed his claims, but before Jor-El can do anything else, General Zod overthrows the Council in a violent co-op, antagonisting civil war. Jor breaches the Genesis chamber and steals the Codex, the respiratory from which all Kryptonians are artificially conceived and gently engineered for predetermined roles in society. Kal-El is the first naturally convinced and naturally birthed Kryptonian in centuries. After returning home, Jor grafts the optimized Codex onto Kal-El's and the creator a common key. After saying their final goodbyes, Jor and Laura put Kal in the key into the rocket ship that will take him to Earth, a far-off planet inhabited by species that physically resemble Kryptonians, and orbits a yellow sun, which Jor states will give Kal exceptional abilities. Zod discovers their plan and attacks Jor. A fight ensures with Zod stabbing and killing Jor, while Laura launches Kal-El's ship to Earth. The ship safely escapes Kryptonian atmosphere, but the sphere guards intercept the co-op's force and arrest Zod. Zod and his followers are put into trial for murder of the treason and are sentenced to the Phantom Zone. As he's being taken away, Zod rants out the council and vows to Laura, who in attendance, that he will find Kal-El. I will find him and take the Codex. Zod and his followers are then put into stasis and brought aboard the Black Zero gigantic Kryptonian ship that is then placed onto the Phantom Zone. Laura later returns home as the Kryptonian explodes. She prays that Kal to make a better world. Kal-El's rocket lands in the field of farmers Jonathan and Martha Kent in Smallville, Kansas. So my thing is this. We've talked about the first one with Superman, right? We talked about the look of Krypton, right?
Yeah.
And this to me is this is what I imagine Krypton to be. Like this city in space that's being destroyed by things, and you're on these alien life being monsters. And I really love the look of it. I really feel the danger and the element of this. I really thought that I was more afraid for Kal-El. Especially when all of a sudden Kal-El's mother just gives birth to him. And now it's time to actually send your baby off to Earth. It's just horrifying to see everything that you love being destroyed, and then nothing you can't do anything about it, and therefore you want the best for your kids, so you wind up sending them onto Earth to live and hoping that he actually survives all this. And I also like the other thing I like about this though too is when you see Zod, he's really threatening. You don't end. He'll destroy at nothing to get what he wants. What do you think?
Well, I will say I think some of my opinions have changed since I first saw this in theater. Watching it in theaters, it was the same reaction as you seeing the home planet. But since we saw seeing all the Superman movies, I kind of miss how Krypton looked like in Superman 1. There's something about that crystal like element, like everything
It
is
was like this bright,
glass and
shiny.
bright, shiny, but still kind of earthy to me. It was.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'm watching it now. I'm like, I don't know. Krypton is kind of like dystopian and like grounded and I don't know, dangerous. Like more dangerous than I expected it to be. Which, like you said, maybe that's a good thing. Just gives
Gives
it
us
more
more of a
depth.
little right. It gives us a little bit
Yeah,
more depth into what the place actually looks like.
yeah,
Because think of it like this: in the first one, everything's bright and shiny, kind of looks like the North Star kind of thing, right?
yeah. That's
Where
how I want it
everybody
to
seems
look.
like they're kind of happy in a sense, even though
No, they
one
weren't
person's a
happy, John.
well, you
They
know what I'm
weren't.
saying is, but it doesn't have that doomish kind of look to it. You know what I
I,
mean? It looks very different atmospherically than it does with Man of Steel. You know what I mean? It has this bright color scheme and stuff like that, but that's after we're introduced to Zod in the first one.
yeah,
Remember? And they get
yeah,
sentenced into the Phantom Zone over there. But it's
yeah.
like they combined part one
Uh huh.
of Superman and combined it with part two of Superman and made it one gigantic movie.
Yes, but I still like the way it looked in
I got
Superman 1. Like it wasn't like a safe area for me. Like, yeah, it was bright and there's crystals everywhere, but then that's dangerous because in Superman 1, when Kal-El blasted through, he crashed through the ceiling and then there's shards of glass coming down and it's void of anything that's very colorful. So it's like just this two-tone color, like it's darkness and then there's light. But I don't know. I think of Krypton like that now. I don't know why the first movie has imprinted on me that I'm like, no, that's Krypton. So I'm like, no, I don't
but it
know
just
this.
goes to show you how well done those and crafted those movies are to make it
Yes,
feel like it, even though it's like a
yes,
smaller scale. But it
yes,
gives us enough to actually use our imagination of what Krypton would actually look like.
yes.
And
And I mean, it was like low budget. Marlon Brando had the aluminum foil suit and it
yep,
was blinding my eyes, but I was like, this is Krypton, like I'm looking now, I'm like, what is this place? Is it an Avatar? What is going on here? James Cameron presents Man of
Man of Steel.
Steel. But I will say the element I do like is like the granite. You know how they did like not granite, graphite. They use like
Mhm.
that graphite material to communicate with each other and the graphite robots.
Yeah.
Like I like that part, but that is not my Krypton. My Krypton is Superman 1. And
So
that's
I
all I
guess I
have
like
to
the
say
dark
about that.
dystopian look and the Avatar look of
You it reminded
Krypton.
me, it reminded me too much of Dune. Like
Hmm.
uh okay, yeah, like that came out way before Dune. So if I didn't see Dune out or knew anything about it, I would have been like, oh my God, this is cool. But seeing how Dune is, I'm like, no, that's Dune. That's associated with Dune. Krypton is Superman 1. Damn it. I'm on
I
that
got you.
hill. I'm on that hill, John. I'm on that hill.
Okay. But what did you
What
think
what
about,
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
Michael
I was
Shannon
gonna
as
ask
Zod? Yeah.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna turn it and ask you a question.
Okay.
And get off script. What do you think about the comparison of Brando in the role of Superman's dad, blah, 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 and then versus Russell Crowe?
They gave
Like I
Russell
know it's
Crowe a lot more
unfair.
to do. They gave
That's
Russell
true.
Crowe a lot more to do than Brando. Brando was just there for a couple of lines and he left. But I felt more impactful with Russell Crowe playing him because I feel like that you have that father connection and that
True.
fatherly love to protect his son, not only protect his son, but also to protect his wife, though, at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So I love that element to it. And of course, like I said, everything is done so perfectly well to where it's kind of rushed, but it's rushed with a purpose, right? Because it's like my wife just gave birth, but we have to go on ahead and get him out of here before our planet is destroyed and before Zod finds him. And he winds up going into where all the other Kryptonians are being born to get this codex before Zod gets his hands on it. And he implants it into his son, and then he sends him off. I just love that father and fatherly love of protecting my son and trying to get him out of harm's way before anything happened, and sacrificing his own self as well, and talking to the council and stuff. I really enjoyed the council, being able to see more of a connection with the council and stuff instead of, you know, just this one layered thing that we got with Superman 1, where they're just in this dark, shadowy thing. They send them off to the Phantom Zone, and that's it. You don't really get the politics of what they do. With this one, it sets up and establishes the political side of things with Krypton on how they handle stuff. You also have Russell Crowe, who talks to Zod, and he knows that Zod is up to no good. And whenever you have that confrontation between the two of them and stuff, Zod winds up killing him. And it's like that, oh my gosh, moment of, okay, so it's not Krypton that kills him. It's the person who's in charge of trying to protect Krypton. That's the one that's winds up killing him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree on that part. I just, like I said, Krypton is Superman 1. But in this film, the first part, they do fill in the blanks, I feel.
Yeah, they do.
Like, you don't really see too much of an interaction with Brando and, I'm sorry, Jor-El and Zod. You know, they're kind of like separate. But I do see your point. Like, Russell Crowe is, he plays it from a more like humanistic aspect, like you just described, and Brando kind of plays it like theater
like
play.
A Shakespeare.
Yeah, Shakespearean theater play. My son, you must go forth to the stars and escape. You know, yeah. In this one, he's like, my son. You know, Russell Crowe talks kind of like, you know, very
kind of soft.
Yeah, you know, and I get it, and it does seem like Russell Crowe, and I don't know the actor's name, but they have good chemistry. Like, everybody had good chemistry together. And Superman 1, there was chemistry, but nobody kind of interacted with each other.
No.
You know, it's like everybody stands in this place, and I guess that's how I see Krypton. Like, everybody's very stoic and Shakespearean, and is void, and is like light here and there's darkness here. Very orderly. That's how I see Krypton. And this Krypton was like chaotic and dirty. Right. and there's a pterodactyl flying for no reason. I think that's what I was like, what is the dinosaurs doing in here?
They have to get from one place to another, Tamika. Come on. Their planet's being destroyed.
What? I was like, what? There's a pterodactyl here. Is like the blue people from Avatar gonna come out? Like, where's his tail? He gotta connect to his animal to ride. Like, I started to get my movies mixed up.
I gotcha. But
that's just me.
But you know, I just thought it was an interesting way of him traveling from one point to the other to try and go to protect his wife, then going over to the council, and then trying to tell the council, look, we need to go ahead and go on ahead and put the codex into somebody.
Yes.
In order for other Kryptonians to live. And so happens to be, he winds up telling him, hey, look, we have a perfect specimen. It's actually my son. And we can put this in him and we can actually restore the Kryptonians. So he's the hope that we need. Just as it is for the Earth. For Earth, we want that hope and need. So it pulls on those layers.
I see that. And I do appreciate them filling in the gaps. You know, especially seeing how the babies are manufactured, and it reminded me of the Matrix.
It did.
Like,
it does
humans are manufactured into batteries, and these babies are pretty much like batteries. You know, they're like that story building was very good.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm really
And I
impressed
do
with
agree with you on the robots though too, about how they use the, like, I call it pin needles, and you see the
Yes,
faces.
I like that.
That was pretty cool. That I
Yeah,
like that aspect of it that we haven't seen before in a Superman movie.
yeah.
Then you have the whole trial of Zod
Oh,
that
that
happens
was
after he
good.
kills him. But I don't think that Michael Shannon's like over the top with it when he goes, "I will find him." It
Mhm.
just shows you how vicious Zod is. That will stop at nothing to get what he wants. He doesn't care if he kills a bunch of Kryptonians to get what he wants. He doesn't care if he kills a bunch of Earthlings to get what he wants. Zod's going to try and do anything to keep him within power of what his motive is. And I feel like Zod's motive in this one's a lot clearer than what was in the second one.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, you the way they played it, you can kind of give some sympathy for Zod. He's like, no, I want to save my home planet, and I want new people in power and new ideas and leaderships that make Krypton better, make Krypton great again. You know, like sorry, that's what
But
Zod wanted.
mm,
And this Zod in the first Superman is like you said, Shakespearean. You know, he was like, this is not good for you to do this." And he probably said the same line, but I was like, this guy. I just felt like I was watching a theater play.
right.
You know, it
It
didn't
felt
have
like
the
Superman
emotion.
on right. It felt like Superman on Broadway. Got it.
Yes, that's what it was. That's what he was playing in tights.
Right.
But I do like the punishment that they gave in Superman 1. They're like encased in a shard of glass that's flying through space. I think that's 10 times more. Uh,
Worse.
Lost my word. Yeah, I think that's 10 times worse because they're all crunched together. And then go ahead. Yeah, I
No,
was just
and
gonna say the punishment
but
that they have in this one, they're at least in separate pods, you know.
right. But I want to mention this though too. You mentioned a very good point though. The villains that think that they're right is the most dangerous,
Yes.
and that's what I like about having layers like Zod, Thanos, and stuff like that. They think that they're in the right, and there's no change in their minds because in
Mhm.
their worldview is they're in the right, and they're not going to care about what anybody else has to say, and that makes them even more dangerous.
Yeah.
But I also want to bounce off of you on the punishment though with part one. I do like the fact that they're trapped in that sphere
Mhm.
versus it being in penis size uh, capsules and being frozen into a spaceship.
I mean, this whole planet is about reproduction, right? So maybe
Right.
that was intentional.
Maybe. But
But
it's just,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
do agree with you. I like the sphere in the second one, on, whenever they get stuck together. This
Yeah.
one, yeah, they're in a spaceship together. Yes, they're frozen in the Phantom Zone in a spaceship. So you
Mhm.
gave them a means of transportation when you know your city is being destroyed, and once that city is destroyed, therefore they lose the power to that ship, and guess what? They're actually floating out in space.
True. True. I was trying to think of what they did to their minds. Like, didn't they do something? Do you remember?
I don't think they did.
It's like they zapped something. I don't know. It's like something that they tortured them mentally with.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it was, but that was brutal. But not as brutal as being in a shard of glass with your coworkers and you're flying through space endlessly forever. Now that is like a terrible punishment.
I think so too. So, what do you think of Jonathan and Martha in this one? What do you think of Kevin Costner?
Oh, yeah, they were good. I mean, they weren't like, you know how you have a certain view of how John and Martha are supposed to be, right? From the
Mhm.
movies. Like they're supposed to be a much older couple. These people, they were kind of like middle age, older ish couple, but they
Right.
still had some youth about them.
Right.
But I like it. I like them together. I like Kevin Costner in almost any movie, even Waterworld that I saw, and it was terrible, but I watched it because of Kevin.
I like Waterworld too. That's a guilty
Oh,
pleasure
I
of
mean,
mine.
it's a great movie, huh?
It's a guilty pleasure of
Yeah.
mine.
What are you talking about? What's the
Hey,
best movie ever?
no, it's not. It's really not. But I enjoyed it because I got to see it with my grandfather. That's why. It's not. You don't have to do that. You know
Oh my
that.
god! Oh my gosh!
But I do like the whole entire deal of Kevin. Well, Pa Kent
Oh yeah,
protecting Clark in this one. Not saying that they didn't do a bad job in the first movie or anything, but you establish more of a relationship, in my opinion. And then, especially with the school bus scene,
mm-hmm.
where Clark is over there saying, "Well, what should I have done? Should I have just made them drown?"
Yeah. F those
And he
kids.
goes, "Well, you know what though? If Clark could have gotten out of the back, then why couldn't he just open up the door for everybody else to just go in the back?"
Yeah, that's the thing with the advice he gave Clark. He's like, you shouldn't have done anything. And people have been like, well, how come Clark's alive and my kids aren't?
Right,
Like, either way, there was nothing he could have done.
right. So, he winds up picking up the school bus just as he did in part one of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And, then after that, people have questions. They're wondering what's going on. And even Ma Kent goes, everybody saw what Clark did. And I also like the other thing too is like we get to see more of the fact of the flashbacks and things like that of his childhood. We'll get into that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's go on ahead. Let's talk about this. 33 years later, Kal-El, known as Clark Kent, is working on a crab boat when they receive a distress signal that an oil rig in the distance is on fire. Jumping overboard and swimming over, he begins to help people get to safety as the Coast Guard arrive to evacuate the employees when a piece of rigging threatens to fall on them. Clark holds it up and is with a superhuman strength long enough for them to get clear before an explosion sends Clark flying in the water. While drifting unconsciously, Clark remembers an incident from when he was 9 years old. His super hearing and x-ray vision first started manifesting while he was in class one day. Overwhelmed by experience, he ran away and hid himself in the janitor's closet, refusing to come out until Martha helped him control his powers with breathing and meditation exercises. So what I like about this is, you get to see the aspect of Clark himself saving everybody on the oil rig. You see his clothes being burnt off while he's trying to save everybody. And then all of a sudden, he gets blasted into the water. And then you have that flashback scene, like I said. But I like how it goes into that whole entire deal where Martha's trying to help him. Just think of something quiet, Clark. And just trying to control everything all at one time. It kind of reminds me whenever I was on Adderall and with my ADHD and I had that crashing and everything just comes in at one time and it was just overwhelming. So, it just was one of those things that, the overwhelming feeling of I don't know how to control my powers. I don't know what to do. I'm seeing someone through their clothes and their bone structure and it's freaking me out. And it's this whole entire thing too is like, what if his lasers came out and accidentally blasted the teacher?
Gee.
You know what I'm saying? Like anything at any given moment could have changed Clark's you know what I'm saying? Could actually change Clark's life.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's one of the things I do like about the movie. I just had that little tiff, and maybe there's another tiff later on about what Krypton was, but that's my personal opinion. But I do like these modern superhero movies that are digging into the childhood memories and what childhood is like for somebody that has advanced powers. Because usually they just skip over their childhood and they mention it like, oh, when I was a kid, I did blah, blah, blah. But to see Clark, like be afraid and trapped in a closet and just seeing from his point of view is really scary. Like you can imagine, it's really scary. Like you can see a person's heartbeat, like literally, you can see their heart, and you can see their exoskeleton and everything else, and you can hear them. Like all those senses coming at you is a very overwhelming. So I really appreciate like we are seeing what Clark sees. So it gives us a sense of empathy and sympathy for him.
Mhm.
You know.
I agree. It gives you more of a human aspect to him that we
Yeah.
haven't seen before that I really do appreciate with it. You know, it makes us question too, and we'll get into it later on, but it makes us question about what would we do as humans
Yes.
and how would we react if we seen an alien and with these godlike powers? Would we accept them or would we not accept them? And it humanizes Superman to where he will be relatable. Not only to like how can we relate to someone with superpowers? Here's the thing: you don't have to connect with that. You can connect with the fact that he's getting bullied, and stuff like that. But you can also relate to the fact of us as humans on how we would react, how we would treat somebody on the outside surface of everything.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing your story too. And also where I work at, we talked about like neurodiversity and all these different um, types of like I don't say spectrum or I don't want to say disorders, but whatever that people go through.
Mhm.
Like you may have Asperger's, you may be a little bit sensitive to sound and everything else, and you need a quiet place. And they're
Right.
starting. I hope it catches on, but at some conventions they do have a quiet room, you know, where you can just go to people that just like they can't handle a lot of noise and they just need to get away somewhere. You can go to a quiet room or a quiet space.
Right.
And I think, like you said, you don't have to imagine that if you had superpowers, would you be like Clark and go to a closet or whatever? It's real life. It's people's real life. Like you,
Basically, if you think about it, Clark was actually overstimulated to the
yes,
point where everything was coming at him all at once, and he doesn't know what to do with it. This is his first time experience anything, and this is also Martha's first time experiences too, just as Clark is. So Martha's just trying to think of something out of her ass right now to try and calm her kid down.
yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
it's
and
like,
it's a learning
right,
experience for both of them. Like as a mom, she's dealing with a baby, but this baby can basically rip her in half. So
right,
she's learning a lot about this child, and he's learning about a lot about her and humans. So
right.
it's a learning experience for both of them, and it's to me it is a bit controversial with Pa Kent. He wanted Superman, and even in the first one, to suppress his powers. And we talked about that with Superman 1. But here you can really see him go, no, you have to just, try to fit in. You have to
Hmm.
suppress it. But then you can see his reasonings like, they're
He's
going to
there
take
to
it
protect him
away.
because
You're going to
people
put
like
what?
this.
But I don't
Mhm.
like how he's, when the woman came over, right? And she was like, it's a miracle Clark saved all the kids from the bus, blah, blah, blah. And then he went out to talk to Clark and he was like, well, Clark, this is why I told you to suppress your powers because people get scared.
And they're
And
not
I'm
ready
like,
for you yet.
what does that have to do with me? I'm going through something myself, Dad. I need support. And he's like, no, you're scaring people. Like I thought that was really awful to say, but I got
Well,
where he was coming from. But yeah.
yeah, from my perspective, it's more of the fact of think like this. And we mentioned this in Superman 1.
Yeah.
The FBI could come knocking on the door, turning into Area 51, for example. And also too, there's more technology now compared to before when we had Superman.
Yeah.
But they could have turned him into some type of science experiment or something like that too to figure out things. But from um Kent's perspective, though, no, not only well, something could happen to my son or anything, is the fact that people are scared of what they do not understand.
True.
And that's what he tells him. He goes, son, they're not ready for you yet. The world is so big, basically. The world is not ready for you yet. You need to suppress your powers until the world is ready. And you'll know when that time is, basically, is what he's telling him too. But just be patient. Suppress your powers. People are afraid of what they do not understand. And just be the best that you can be right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I got from it.
I was thinking too much about like present day kids who are just going through things.
Right.
Anyway, and just having somebody like a parent figure say, no, you know, you gotta suppress, you know, like if you have, I don't know, I keep thinking about Asperger's, sorry. But you know, if you neurodiverse or you're in that category, oh, you gotta kind of suppress that. I'm like, well, this is me naturally. I don't know how to suppress that, you know.
Right.
This is me. No, you're gonna scare people. I kind of was thinking about it from that. I kind of took Superman totally out of it, and I just kind of put it in that perspective. That's my bad, but
No.
I understand both aspects. You know, like he's afraid. He doesn't want them to experiment on him, and this is his son. And he wants to protect him, but also, I don't know. It just sounds terrible to tell a kid, oh, you gotta suppress who you are. You know, you're gonna scare people.
Right. And pretend to be something that you're not.
Yeah,
you know,
to
which
fit
is human.
into society.
Right.
Oh, that's terrible.
So I also like the other thing though too. I love the underwater stuff that you get whenever he's unconscious. I thought it was very beautiful. I thought Aquaman might show up.
Me too. That one, I got it in my notes. You know, in the whales, orcas.
Yeah, orcas.
Whatever it was. I was like, did Aquaman send them?
That's actually something that's been speculated before, though. But it's not fact. But it's been speculated.
Oh, I believe it. I believe Aquaman was like, that may be Superman. Let me go send some of my peeps over there to get him on out of there.
Fuck wheel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
But
that's dolphin. Okay.
I need to make that a sound effect now. But yeah. So now we are returning to shore. Clark steals some clothes and skips town just like in Terminator 2, seeing a school bus on the way, reminding him of a day from when he was 13 and the school bus he was on blew out a tire and ran off the bridge and into the river. Clark, using his super strength, which we talked about, pushed the bus out of the river and stopped it from sinking, revealing his powers to Lana Lang and Pete Ross in the process. Pete's mother later told the Kents about Clark's astonishing feat, but the elder Kents denied that there was anything special about their son. Yeah, it's just perfectly normal to lift your bus up. Yeah, It happens every day. Adrenaline, you know? Later, Jonathan stressed to Clark the importance of keeping his powers secret for fear of Clark's safety, telling him that people are afraid of what they don't understand. When Clark pressed for answers, Jonathan revealed the Kryptonian space pod Clark arrived onto them on, which he kept hidden under a barn. He gave Clark the command key, which looks like a memory card, which he kept hidden under a barn. Yeah. He gave Clark, and encouraged him to find out his true origins and why he was sent to Earth, while reassuring him he's still his son. So Clark is now working in a highway bar where he overhears some men talking about the military looking for a strange object under the ice near the Arctic. Meanwhile, a Patreon starts sexually harassing a waitress. Clark comes to her defense, just like in Superman 2 when he gave up his powers, and destroys the truck belonging to the man responsible before skipping town in the direction of the alien ship. So let's talk about this.
Okay.
Let's talk about the command key and stuff, because remember in Superman 1, all we got was like a glowing green lightsaber, basically.
Glow stick.
Yeah, glow stick.
Yeah.
but that's what we got in the first one. This one we got a memory flash card with the S symbol.
Well, it wasn't a flash. It was a USB device. Come on.
Okay, a USB device with the
Plug
S
it in.
symbol on it. My bad.
Yeah, get it right.
Oh.
Yeet.
But what did you think, though? I mean, I like the subtleness of the fact that it's more updated and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the USB device
Like
from
you
the
say.
glow stick. Yeah, I like that. I think that's pretty cool. I didn't think he had it around his neck and made it there. I think you can do that with an actual USB. Put some string around your neck or something. But yeah, I was, you know what I was thinking about with
What's that?
the bully, Pete. You know, he was bullied before the plane crashed by this dude named Pete. and I was thinking, if I was him, would I have rescued Pete?
It takes a
Would I
lot
have-
to rescue him.
Yes, because you know, Pete somehow how was under the water and everybody else was still on the bus. Then he had to go back and get Pete. I'm like, would I have just like left him? Like, oh, I got everybody out the bus, and oh, poor Pete didn't make it.
Final destination.
Oh well.
Saved everybody. And so that's you know what I'm saying. But
Yeah, I mean it. Yeah, he clearly he isn't human because we would have been like, "F you, Pete, you didn't make it."
you see, that's why it takes a godlike person like Clark to be able to save someone like Pete, even though he's a total ball bag.
Literally.
If you think about it, Pete is like Brad from Superman 3.
Oh, I don't know which one is worse.
I think Pete is worst. Because the other one's just stuck in his football years. This one's just a ball bag bully that wants to bully Clark.
Yeah, but they both ended up as losers.
Yeah.
I mean, not
looking
that
at-
being a manager of IHOP is a loser job. I mean, for Pete, he's a loser before he was a
Right.
manager at IHOP. I like IHOP.
But, you know, I think that it's pretty cool to actually save Pete because it gives him a redeemable quality about him because he winds up saving Clark later on,
True.
too. So I thought that was pretty cool on how they redeemed the bully for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Clark is much better than all of us.
Yes, he is.
Mm.
So, what did you think about the whole entire deal where we actually see Clark protecting the waitress, and then he winds up taking Optimus Prime's Prime and putting it up on the light poles?
Yeah, you know what? He just can't walk away from a bar fight. That's
No.
what I learned. I learned that Superman is about that life. You challenge him in a bar fight, he gonna have the last word. You know, it may take him some time. Like this, he got off his shift. He put your truck in the tree, and then he said, "Okay, I'm fired. I know that. I'm finna go." Superman 2, it took him some time, but you know he ain't let it go. He like, I'm
That
going
dude
back.
lives
going-
rent free in his head that whole
I'm
entire
going-
time.
back to that bar with my powers, and I'm gonna go straight to that man like, hey, and then I'm gonna sling him across in that pinball machine. I'm like, you could have let it go, Clark. You could have let it go. I'm going all the way back to that damn bar, and I'm gonna show him a piece of my mind. At least Clark here just got it out of his system. He's like, I don't want to have to come back like a year later and find this guy and do the same thing to his truck. I'm gonna just do it now. I'm
Right.
gonna walk off my job and I'm gonna F his truck up, and then I'm gonna go find me another job. That's pretty
It's
much
like
what he
he's got-
did.
It's like he found every single job he could find, right?
Yeah, yeah. He did like what were they doing? Like craftsman,
Yeah, he was a crab fisherman, and then he worked
fisherman, offshore. And he's like, okay, I'm working a bar. And he's the most employable man I ever met. Like he
takes
just
good
get
care
on
of
one
himself.
job, he get on another job. I'm like, it don't matter if the economy bad, Superman gonna find a job. That's
Exactly. Okay, so let's see.
Oh, wait. So you remember Aquaman? I know people want to forget Aquaman 1 and 2 and 3 and whatever. But in Aquaman, he was kind of in a neighborhood bar too. Like I just thought about it. They both were doing blue collar work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blue collar people.
Yeah. Okay, next.
But so now we get the Daily Planet reporter Lois Lane arrives via a chopper to report on the object under the sea and has her bags carried by Clark, who is posing as a worker there. The operation is led by a U.S. Air Force Colonel Nathan Hardy, who is working with Dr. Emil Hamilton of DEPRA. Hardy is not pleased to see Lois there and tries to get her away, but her clearance allows her to stay. They reveal that imaging has turned up to a massive object that's nearly 20,000 years old. Later that night, Clark walks away from the military, burrows through the ice with his heat vision. Lois spots and follows him. The object turns out to be a large alien spacecraft. Aboard the ship, Clark is associated by Robert Sentry until he inserts the command key into a port, activating the ship's systems. Lois is then attacked by the Sentry when she tries to take a picture of it, getting wounded in the process. Clark saves her and cauterizes her wound with his heat vision. He then takes her outside where she can be found before the ship takes off and flies away. Lois writes an article about what she saw in the Arctic, but her editor, Perry White, refuses to publish it on the grounds that he's worried that what kind of reclamations that the story would have on the world. She then has a blogger, Glenn Woodburn, leak the story on the internet. So let's talk about the fact that, we finally get our first introduction to Lois, played by Amy Adams.
Yeah.
And what did you think of her?
The moment she got off the plane, like her presence, it just wasn't given for me. Like the first impression went down, and then from there I just was like, man. Like the energy she gave off was like versus the energy from Lois Lane. I think that's the problem. I saw Lois Lane, and everybody saw Lois Lane Superman. And they know how she is. She's gutsy and tough and quick and snappy, I don't have time for this. Get out of my way. I got a story. I'm very ambitious. And this one, she's gutsy, but she's like, I don't have time for this. I got a story and I'm very busy. And I'm kind of snarky. And I'm going to kind of say some snarky stuff under my breath. And you're going to carry my past because I'm spoiled rotten. Hello. Like, that's what the energy she gave me. And the energy was like, man. And I was like, well, I don't care about you.
So it felt kind of like girl next door kind of thing, passive aggressive.
It felt like the girl that not like the top popular girl, but the girl that's like with the top popular girl.
I get what you're saying. You're
supposed to be the popular girl. You're supposed to be the head BICTA blah 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 in charge. Right. Right. You ain't supposed to be like the understudy. She gave me understudy vibes.
Right. I understand that because she's not working for me either. Like I've seen everything Amy Adams is in and stuff, but she just doesn't have that energy, the charisma, the quickness, and the wittiness of who Lois is. She does not embody on who Lois is. Especially when they say, she goes, well, what if I need a tinkle? Well, there's a bucket right there. Basically, they're pissed off because she's even there in the first place. And then they wind up giving her this little cruddy little warehouse thing for her to sleep in. But that was the real Lois, even though it's supposed to be Lois. The Lois that we know would say, I'm not sleeping in this. I'm going to sleep where you guys are sleeping. You guys can shit in a bucket and piss in a bucket, but I'm not going to do it. You guys can do it, but I'm not going to do it.
Yo, if you don't find me someplace to pee, I'm going to rip everybody's head off. Like, that's our Lois. This Lois was like, okay,
And that's what you want to do. Okay.
And I've seen Amy Adams in other films. I just think this particular role wasn't for her.
No. And I like Amy Adams. I do. I really do. If anybody's like, oh, he must really don't like Amy
No,
Adams.
we like Amy
I
Adams here.
love Amy Adams in certain roles. She
Yeah,
does not embody Lois for me.
no.
Doesn't have the energy of Lois for me
Mm-mm.
to be sold on. At least with the Fantastic Mrs. Maisel with the new Superman, we're gonna get a little bit of that quickness and wittiness, I think, from her, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, wait. That's who's gonna play Lois
Yep.
from the lead from Fantastic. Oh
Yep.
man, that's gonna be good. Okay. I
Yeah.
got some hope.
Yeah. So that's who's gonna play Lois. I'm not sold on Amy Adams as Lois. She's like the girl next door kind of Lois, where she just goes with the flow kind of thing, and then she follows up Clark up to the and up to the mountain,
Yeah,
and then I like the look of the alien ship being underneath everything after 20,000 years.
I like that.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Then the robots and stuff like that attack her for one, and she winds up trying to take a picture of something that she doesn't even know what it is.
such a paparazzi. All the robot want to do is do his job and be in his house and have some privacy. And she's like, Mr. Robot, well, what are you doing here? Click, click. And he's like, get the fuck out of my way. And he's like almost kills her. But I like that robot though. I want that security system.
That's a really good security
in,
system.
in my front door. Yeah.
That's what they need. That's exactly what we need for our security system. I'll be a whole lot safer.
If the Tesla robots are like that, then I would get it on my Klarma account.
but then after that, he winds up having to cater her wound. You know what I'm saying? Burn her wound up, and I think that she doesn't play the damsel in distress like we did with the other Superman movies or anything. They were trying to do something different. But she put herself in harm's way just like she always does. And she got burned.
True. Yeah. The real Lois would have been in the same predicament. Yeah.
But yeah. And then we have what do you think about her trying to leak this to someone that basically has Zynga, which is a blogging website back in the day in the early 2000s? That's what every single time I think of blogging, I think of Zynga, that old website that we had back in the early 2000s. But Perry White, Lawrence Fishburne doesn't even work for me either.
No, I mean, like I said, the moment this Lois came on screen, it looked like it set the whole tone for the Daily Planet. Like everybody was like, meh, like lacking, like not giving it to me.
There's no energy.
Like Lawrence Fishburne and Amy Adams are best at roles where they have to do quiet intensity. This is like a big budget film. I'm thinking of Daily Planet. Like, come on. What's the latest story? Put it on my desk right now. Not like, Lois, we can't publish this. No, I don't think. I was like, it's Morpheus running a newspaper, and Morpheus don't belong behind the desk.
No, he doesn't. No. Thank you for bringing that up, because even whenever the FBI is coming at their door, it reminds me of The Matrix with Keanu Reeves whenever he sees Agent Smith for the first time. Mr. Anderson, Neo, look, there's going to be a couple of agents coming by. They're going to come and get you. Don't worry. We're going to save you.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to take you.
Oh.
Then this is him talking to Lois. Lois, the FBI is here.
Oh no.
They're gonna question you about what you saw over the Arctic, Lois.
The FBI? Why?
I don't know, Lois. You need to go. You need to go on ahead and get out of the building before the FBI comes.
Where do I go?
I don't know. It's not my problem. You just need to go.
Oh my god.
And then she goes into the alley and she still gets caught. So
yeah.
I got Matrix vibes with Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White. I'm sorry. He does not work for me. The whole entire energy of the Daily Planet it feels like they've been through all this. Okay. I feel like that the Daily Planet in this one has been through so much shit to the point it's like, okay, another story.
Yeah,
Let's see
everybody.
what we can find. Okay,
Hey,
some more political stuff. Okay, just another Tuesday.
uh,
You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
just there's no liveliness to that. Sorry, there's no
it was the
liveliness.
it was the Monday blues throughout that whole movie at the Daily
Hmm.
Planet, and it was dark. They didn't make it. I think that was my other issue. Like, this just isn't like the Daily Planet like light.
Even
Light.
Metropolis is supposed to be bright and
Yeah,
sunny,
yeah,
and Zach pretty much made it dark and dim and stuff like
yes,
that. And it's not. It's the overall tone of it. It does not match with the tone of what we know Metropolis to be, and that's my
yes,
nitpicky thing about this film. Is the
yes,
fact that the colors, the atmospheric thing, the vibe of Superman is not Superman in a sense. Because
yeah.
Metropolis and the Daily Planet are not bright and sunny. Nobody feels energetic. They don't want to be there at the Daily Planet
Mm-mm.
or anything. Everything just feels bland.
Yes, I feel like he put more of the color and the sense of life
Hmm.
in in Clark's childhood. Like that feels more lively to me than the Daily Planet. Like
Agreed.
what is the is there's a newspaper in Batman, right? Gotham. What yeah, I think they have a newspaper. Anyway, that tone should have been in the Batman movie. Like
Yeah.
this is the Gotham blah blah blah. Like I expect them to be kind of like whatever. Because I mean, they've been through some stuff, man. Like every 5 minutes, they in something. Some crime
Right.
boss is trying to get them. And Batman, I expect that from them. Metropolis, I expect it to be kind of like New York. Like
Exactly. That's
fast,
exactly
speed,
how
go,
it's supposed to. Well,
go, go,
Gotham
go.
is supposed to be basically New York.
Chicago.
I would say,
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
basically, if
Okay.
you think about it, Gotham is basically going to be New York, and I would say Jersey,
Oh.
probably from Metropolis, or I could even go Chicago, probably,
Oh, okay. I can see that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
maybe, but it just doesn't fit the color scheme. I'm sorry, I just don't like it.
No, and the way that is stylistically, it's the tones are too muted,
Yeah,
and your eyes go like this, and you already feel like you just got the like dreadful to be here with them. Like I'm dreading being here at the Daily Planet too.
I don't even want to be here.
I don't want to work here too. That's how I felt. Like it's weird watching this the second. I haven't seen it since I saw it in theaters. And
I
in
actually own it
theaters,
on
I was
Blu-ray,
like,
but
of
yeah,
course you do, John. But in
I can't
theaters,
help it. I'm a physical media collector.
oh, yeah, I felt the same way with Lawrence Fishburne. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. The color. Now I'm like, oh, the colors. It just make you feel so depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, the Daily Planet. I don't want to be here either, Perry. Another story,
It
another
makes us feel like
time.
we've been working for him for about 20 years, and we just got
Yeah,
here about 2 hours ago. Not 2 hours
yeah.
ago, but you know
I
what I'm
mean,
saying.
it just seemed like Perry was about to retire the next year. Like,
Especially
no,
when he's
no,
looking out the window and telling her no. He's like, "Here we go again."
no. But yeah, I think I didn't answer your question. Uh, yeah, I think that was the only way she could get that story out was to a conspiracy theory blog. I think that was the perfect place to put it.
I think so too. But here's the thing: I understand the FBI is busy and stuff like that, but and they're all also trying to protect Area 51. But most of the stuff that comes out of a blog is of someone living in their mom's basement that doesn't even mean shit half the time. So
True. I think because they already had people on site, like this was their Area
true,
51, and then it's on this blog. So they're like, oh crap, it's getting out. We're going to have to take care
right?
of this. Yeah. And then, of course, he's singing like a canary. Oh, that's Lois Lane. Yeah, she gave me this story. She worked at the Daily Planet. That's 1555 Metropolis Way. Just telling everything. I'm like, good God.
All right. So now we're at the ship settles on Underset Island, and Clark is greeted by a holographic projection of Jor-El, who tells Clark the full story of the origins, his birth name, and why he was sent to Earth Jor-El reveals that in the distant past, Krypton was once a flourishing civilization and sought to expand themselves in the vastness of space a long time before human civilization even started. The ship Clark found was one of the hundreds lost in the void. However, these grandiose projects died out once the artificial breeding was established and when they didn't manage to find new resources. And by the time of Cal's birth, their society was a shell of its past glory, believing that Kryptonians' artificial breeding and genetic engineering policies led to this downfall, with Kryptonians losing the ability to choose their own lives. Laura and Laura convinced Cal to rebel against the system and sent him to Earth to not just escape Krypton's end, but to forge his own path. George believes humanity has the potential to become as great as Krypton was at its height, and Cal's guidance as he can embody the best of both worlds, gifting him a format Kryptonian suit emblazoned with the House of L's coat of arms, a symbol meant to represent hope. After donning the suit and taking Jor's words of encouragement to keep pushing the limits of his abilities, Clark, after a stumble, is successfully able to fly with his Superman costume on. So I like the idea of him explaining the origin story through this background of every stuff. It gives us a perfect layout of what Krypton was supposed to be and what it represented, and then it fell into something that it didn't even need to be or anything like that as time went by.
Yes, I like that too. That's still my favorite part of the movie, just the special effects, and the storytelling. I'm sorry, I'm going back to my soapbox, but it'll just be a minute. So if Krypton can just be like the granite aspects of the storytelling, then I would be okay, minus the dirt and the dinosaurs. Okay, I'm gonna let it go. So anyway, I I actually was wondering, especially in the first Superman, Krypton is so advanced. Like, how does one's conscience look like it's living and it's moving and it's interacting with somebody else? It still baffles me to this day how advanced their technology is. That you have Jor-El like, oh, Kal-El, how are you? It's me, and it doesn't even sound like a robot. It just sounds like I'm interacting with my dad. He's here.
Right. It's like AI, artificial intelligence, talking to you.
Thank you. You answered my question. That makes sense.
Basically, AI generational technology. If you think about it,
yes,
he's not standing in a mirror like they were doing in the very first one. Because remember, it felt like he was just looking at his parents on, you know what I'm saying, on a teleprompter or something, and it's actually on the wall. Yes. But with this one, you actually have the human interaction between Kal-El and his dad, and you actually get to see them face to face, talking to each other, having that father and son conversation, which is something that I like with this. It gives you more of a father and son dynamic versus the original Superman movies. So that's something I do appreciate with this one. But yeah, I would say it's like artificial intelligence whenever it comes down to the technology of the Kryptonians with that scene.
Yeah.
And especially about how he actually just walks around and showing him certain things. I'm like, how do you know where they are? You know?
Yes. I mean, how much planning has went into this? Like, they had to plan like weeks ahead, and he had to have like put his conscience or uploaded it or whatever he did, where he could just walk around and show him like, okay, this is that. Like, and it's still one of my favorite scenes from the movie. But also, it's really interesting because in Superman 1 or 2, Clark seemed like he was more closer to his mom because we started to see him interact with his mom more than his dad And in
Right.
this one, he's interacting with his dad, which I really like. I think the key to a son and father relationship is really important. So I
I think
really
so
like
too.
that he's interacting with his father.
It's about father and sons. This is what this movie's about. It's about father and son relationships, and it humanizes Jarrell even more with his
Mm-hmm.
son. This, even though it's like AI, artificial intelligence, talking to his son, but it gives you more of a structure of who he is and a personality that Clark never got to see before because he never knew his real father. So I like
Mm-hmm.
that. It doesn't leave any questions anymore as to who he is. He knows what everything is, who he is, what he is, and what he needs to do.
That's really good. Yeah, he's finding out who he truly is through his father.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah. Well, in this case, Clark is really lucky. He's finding out who he is from his biological dad, and then he had his earthly dad or stepdad or whatever. I still his dad give him these lessons on how to be a good human, like how to
Right.
interact with people. So he has the best of both worlds combined in one, which fulfills his parents' dreams. You know,
I
but
like that.
for Jor-El to say, "Oh, the Earth can be just like Krypton," I'm like, "No, Earth is Earth. Like there can't be another Krypton." Krypton was his own thing. He was still thinking even before when he was alive, like, "Oh, Earth would be just as great as Krypton, be Krypton too." And that's the same thinking Zod had, but it was to the extreme viewpoint.
Right. But I think it's also like build your own Krypton and find your own happiness.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Krypton is gone. It had its chance.
Right. It's like Krypton is in you, but it's not part of you.
Wow. Wow. Dropping truth bombs over here, man.
So that's
Dropping it.
that's how I
Dropping
got it. It's like, yeah,
it.
Krypton is part of you, but it's not
Yeah.
who you are. Yes, you're a
Mm.
Kryptonian, but at the same time, you're
Mm.
your own individual person, your own individual thoughts.
Yeah. But it's part of who you are, right? Like
Right.
we live in okay, I'm from Atlanta and you're originally from Boston, right? But
Right.
we're in different states. But where we are, it is part of who we are, where we came from. We still carry like Atlanta, like the culture of Atlanta.
Right.
You still carry the culture of Boston, but it's not who you are. It doesn't limit you. Like, oh, I can only be in Boston. I can only be in Atlanta. No, you take Atlanta and Boston with you,
Right.
and he takes Krypton with him, literally.
Right.
It's like implanted in him, which was genius. Anyway, this I'm just learning so much from this conversation. It's very deep, but
It
we have
is.
to
This is
move
probably
on.
but probably as deep as we went with some of it, even though we did part 3, then we went deep with that.
We just have to move on. I'm sorry, John. We have to move on.
Okay. But what do you think of the whole flying scene, though? I like the Hans Zimmer flight theme of it with the slow pacing, and then you get to the whole entire thing where he's stumbling. He doesn't know how to fly yet or anything like that. He's just trying to
Mm,
figure out his powers, just as we're trying to figure out his powers for him, as well as an audience, because we're wanting to see him fly. We're wanting that moment. And it's just that slow build to it, and then you finally get it, and I still geek out over it. And the scoring that Hans Zimmer does for Flight is hands
mhm.
down one of my favorites.
Yes. Well, you could put it side by side with how Clark discovered the fly when he's a teenager. It's like,
Right.
and like you see a little string pulling him up like a marionette, versus this. But yeah, I think this one was more like a victory flight. It's like, wow, I know who I am. I know where I come from. I'm learning all
Right.
these things, like how Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire was learning how to shoot from webs from his disgusting wrists. Ugh. But yeah, I like him flying across all the elements. Like I think we saw
Me too.
all the elements, right? Earth, fire,
Yeah, we got to see it all when he was a kid. Yeah, we got to see most of it,
I
all
like
except
that.
the ice breath. We didn't get to see that.
Oh yeah, but I like it. I like his flight. I was happy. I was happy for him. It felt like my accomplishment too. I'm like, yes, Clark, you found out who you truly are. Great.
Me too. It's
Fly.
about self-identification and stuff.
There you
But
go.
you know,
Dropping it, Johnny. Dropping them truth bombs. Yeah.
but you remember when he sees the pods and he sees all his dead ancestors and stuff?
Yeah, that was creepy.
Well, get this. Now, I don't know if you remember this or not, but remember the open pod? There's a pod that was opened. I don't think you remember. Do you? You don't remember because she's frozen solid.
It blanked out. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
we're back. All right, and we're back. Yeah, I do remember the open pod.
Okay, so there was actually going to be there was a comic, a little small mini comic that came with the DVD or the Blu-ray, and it was actually Supergirl that was actually in that pod.
Oh.
So they did like a little small thing for it and stuff that came with your Blu-ray.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
yeah, but everybody else was like a skeleton. I was like, this is like a horror movie. Jeez.
Kind of looks like The Thing, right?
Oh man. Oh yeah. they can watch your review on The Thing on Movie Lovers Unite channel.
Yep, exactly. I reviewed that movie. You guys can find it on the audio and video formats in the 80s playlist of the video section. But then so now we have Lois begins investigating Clark's life and the history of saving and helping people over the years, including talking with the grown-up douchebag Pete before turning up at the Kent farm. Lois visits Jonathan where Clark arrives and tells her the story of Jonathan and helping people during a tornado and sacrifice himself to keep Clark's abilities a secret. The topic is especially painful for Clark as he and Jonathan had an argument before the tornado struck and he never got the chance to apologize for what he said. In the heat of the moment, Lois promises not to publish the story to honor Jonathan's sacrifice. Clark returns home and reunites with Martha, excitedly telling her that he's found out while reassuring her nothing between them has changed.
Yeah, I noticed that too. When he was like, Mom, I found my parents. I know who I am. She was like, that's great, Clark.
Cool story.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
story, bro.
I'm your mom. They left you. I was here for you, but it's fine.
Right.
I was like, oh, got a little cold over there. He's like, Mom, chill. I mean, you're still
why the original Superman, maybe he never came back because of that.
That's why we didn't see her no more. Dang. Oh, okay. That's my little gripe too. Like, do I think Lois should have known sooner that he is Superman? That's the part I wrestled with in this movie. It's like she knew immediately. Like, like boom, I'm Superman. Before she knew he was Clark. I don't know. I still like the, oh, does she know? Don't she know? Oh, his glasses are off. His glasses are on. I know that a lot of people are like, that's so stupid. She could clearly see that that's him. That's Superman. Superman and Clark are one person. But here she's introduced to Superman. No, she's introduced him and Clark.
Right. Well,
she's introduced to him as Clark before they work together. I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe I'm too much of a traditionalist.
I felt the same way though too. I felt like it was a little too rushed for her to, she's Superman and stuff like that. Yeah, I get the fact that she's a reporter, but she's doing it really quick.
Yeah,
that's the thing. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't too long whenever he saved her, and then all of a sudden now she's doing all this research on him. And we get to see Pete at the IHOP. He's a manager now. We get to see all this lead up. But I think I wanted it would be okay if I was to fix the DCEU. I would have her try to find out who he is in the second movie, just like how they did with the other one, with the original.
Yes.
Have that lead up to it, but just to go ahead and put it in there now. And I get the fact that they're combining part 1 and part 2 together with this one. It just doesn't work for me either with this. There's that mystery element of when is Lois going to find out? This erases all the credibility of, when is that lead up is going to happen in those conversations. And yes, you do have those conversations inside the cemetery, and it feels like the interview that, that Lois and Superman had in the first one, but it doesn't have that same aspect of him sitting down with her and telling her what happened.
Yeah. And maybe that's the problem. Like I said, they combined 2 movies in one. And
Right.
I'm sure, well, I don't know how he feels if he has any like, oh, I could have done this better with this film or not. But I do wish it was spaced out. I'm just still pissed that Henry Cavill was so good in this movie and he can't get another opportunity to space this out, because I like Man of Steel and I would have liked to see Man of Steel 2 and 3 and that's it. But
I would like to see him in Man of Steel 2.
Yeah.
And then have a Batman movie out.
Okay. Batman,
after
Superman.
a Batman movie. Huh?
Like Batman, Superman, and then Man of Steel 3.
Yeah, and then the finishing thing would be Batman versus Superman, killing off Superman.
Oh, what about Justice League? Where does that fit?
Okay, well, Justice League, you can actually have that. You can actually have another Batman movie after Man of Steel 2. You have you have Batman 1. Then after that, you have another Superman movie, and then you have Justice League.
Yeah, it was just too rushed.
And you can also have other characters before that though too.
I don't know if he's Snyder, right? Snyder. Yeah, I don't know if he thought, okay, well, I don't want to do this Superman movie again because it's already been done before, so I'm just going to do 1 and 2 and be done. But when you do that, you get all these issues we're talking about. You get Lois, she finds out, oh, this is Clark. Oh, he's also Superman. And then when we'll get to it, but later on when they meet, it's kind of like, oh, hi, Clark. Like,
right. Yeah, I definitely agree. But then you have the whole entire thing with Pa Kent dying in the tornado.
Man.
And Clark was going to go ahead and save him, and then he's still telling him no, not to do it, because he went on, because Pa Kent went and saved the dog from getting swallowed by the tornado. It's just those moments of like, I wish I could have actually told my dad that I loved him one last time, and I'm sorry for what I said.
The part of that movie haunts me to this day. And it shouldn't, right? But I was like, should he have just went and got him? Or maybe he would have known if he came for me, everybody would have known he's Superman because he can't restrain his powers yet.
Well, I think at this moment, he could restrain his powers. But once again, Pa Kent's like, look, they're not ready yet. They're not ready. You're going to have to, suppress your powers again. And you're going to have to let me go. And that's one of the hardest things as an adult is letting your parents go.
It is. It just still bothers me, John. This movie been out since 2013 and it's 2025. And that scene just lives rent free in my head every couple months. I'm like, out of the blue, I can just be making mashed potatoes. And I'm like, oh, he should have went after his dad. I know his dad said, don't come in. It's like, F you, Dad, I'm coming after you. I mean, it has me in a chokehold talking about it. It's like, man, shoot.
It's just part of life, You're born.
I understand, John. This is Superman.
I understand.
Like, he got powers and I know he want to be an obedient son. And that whole fight was just horrible. It was like, well, you're not my real dad. And I was like, oh, damn. And then the storm came and he was like, there's a storm. I'm like, no. Oh, man. Then his dad is like Superman too. His dad is like a Superman figure. who
Right.
he runs out into the storm, and I'm going to save people, and I'm going to get them to safety and shelter. Well, first I'm going to save the dog, but then I'm going to save the people. It's like, oh my God. And then that turn back where he's like, I'm going to get him. And then he looked and he was like, I was like, oh. Okay. I'm sorry.
It's just sad. It's a sad way to lose your father in a tornado and not knowing that you can save him, but you can't save him.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
of your parents trying to be protective of you. You know. But I do want to say this. You mentioned how I would fix the DCEU and all that stuff.
Yes,
my friend Roberto actually has a video out now on Roberto's Room on how he would fix the DCEU. So go in and check that out on Roberto's Room. But
okay, cool.
You know, I just want to mention that, give him a little shout out.
Yes.
But now we're going to get into the Black Zero arrives in Earth's orbit and transmits a message across the world to every electronic device, demanding Kal-El hand himself over to them within 24 hours, or Earth will suffer the consequences. Lois is forcefully taken by the FBI after Woodburn outs her as knowing Kal-El, while Clark visits a priest at the local church for advice on what he must do. The priest, Father Leone, tells Clark to take a leap of faith. Clark recalls another childhood incident in which he was being bullied by some classmates who tried to goad him into fighting back, even as he refused later. Jonathan told him that he would grow up to change the world, and that it's up to him to decide what kind of man he wants to become. So we talked about that. So what we'll do is we'll talk about the fact. What we'll do is we'll talk about the fact that this actually feels like a horror movie.
Yes.
Especially when all the you know me,
I know what you're talking
about. Basically all the news stations are covering this. Lois is trying to just continue on with her day, and she's looking for black ink cartridge, and then all of a sudden it's just this thing of the world just stopped because of this one thing. And it's like, you are not alone. Kal-El. I am General Zod. And that's just this horrifying of the fact of, like, the truth is out there. You know what I'm saying? It is just horrifying. It felt like a sci-fi horror movie at that point. And I had goosebumps still to this day whenever Michael Shannon says that. I am General Zod. Kal-El. Bring Kal-El to me. I mean, it's just fascinating on how they pulled on those layers of turning into like a sci-fi horror movie.
Well, it's even scarier too. You know how, like, on your TV you can just get like a random alert, and everybody gets the same alert, and you're like, it's really scary. Aliens can just tap into your system, and they can just take over the TV, and that's very frightening. And then you couldn't really see his face; it was static. And to make it worse, he's moving in the static, and I'm like, no, I could just take the static, but you're like moving, and like a form is moving in the static, and it's Michael Shannon. Anyway, he's a great actor, but he scares the crap out of me.
Same here. Boardwalk Empire was one of those shows that scared the hell out of me.
Gosh, I wish we could do that, but that would be like, I don't know. That's like 2 years of talking about Boardwalk Empire.
I'm down for
it. No, I
can do some reactions from it.
I don't know if I can take it. I don't know if I can take it again. But yeah, he just, oh my God, he's so intense. Like, his whole energy is intense. Michael Shannon.
Yes, he is.
But yeah, that
dude is scary.
That was really scary. Yeah, that's what I had in my note. Note was like creepy and invasive.
And I like how they give him like a 24-hour period to give Kal-El up. And then, you have this human aspect of Superman that we haven't seen before, where he goes to a church and asks for advice from a priest on what to do. Mm-hmm. And he's like, and it's basically about being the best version of yourself and be the man who you want to be, which is what Jonathan is gave his advice to Clark, just as the priest is also giving him the same advice. But this time the priest is like, take a leap of faith. Because, well, what do I do? And in order to save mankind, he has to sacrifice himself for the greater good. So he winds up giving himself up when he could just go on ahead and just walk away and not even show up.
I just find it interesting, like this and Daredevil, they introduced the concept of God with superhero. Like superheroes are going to church and they're asking, "What should I do?" I'm like, it still makes God above them because they're like, go to a priest. What should I do? I mean, Matt Murdock murdered how many people? And he's like, I come to make a confession. I'm like, you come to make a confession. Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, whether I have superhero powers or not, a Catholic is a Catholic. But
six Hail Marys.
Yeah, but it was so interesting that Clark would go to this pastor and as first he outs himself. He was like, oh, is that, are you who they're looking for? He's like, yeah, I'm the guy he's looking for. His name is Zod, and I come from this planet Krypton. I'm like, what the fuck? Shut up. He could. Are you serious?
You're saying too much.
Yeah, he's like, that's his priest. He's like, oh, I feel so good to tell you, I'm Superman. I'm an alien.
I got something to
your
say.
Church. I'm not human. I'm an alien. He's come from my planet too. What should I do?
I could see him after his sleep. I feel so good about this. This is a great talk. I'm glad we had this talk.
I feel so much better. And I trust you won't tell nobody, not even the FBI. I'm like, are you, man, he was really desperate. He was like,
and
oh,
not only that, but the priest doesn't even question him or anything like that either. He's not, it's like, he's not scared or anything.
Like, this man didn't tell you he's an alien. He was like, well, sometimes you have to take. I'm like, what? You know what? I want to go to this priest. I just committed a crime.
This is a good priest. I have to say, this is probably the best priest that we ever had. No judgment. Yeah. No nothing. Not scared of Superman or anything.
Yeah. I did something horrible to somebody. Well, sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. Oh, thank you. Okay. Well, I'm sure he won't tell.
I do appreciate that.
I'm sure he won't tell the feds that I'm in this church after I did something horrible to end somebody else's life. Well, sometimes you have to take a leap of faith and then you'll be okay. Do you feel better? Thank you. I'm like, what is wrong with this? This is the most chill dude. I guess he heard everything. He's like, listen, you're an alien. I done heard it all. I want that pastor. I want him.
I do too. That's actually the best priest that I ever seen.
He is really
not scared, no judgment, don't even criticize you. It's like, yeah, son, yeah, I've been there myself. I sometimes feel alienated too. No, I'm an alien.
Yeah. Yeah, him and Matt Murdock's priest. Those are two I want to talk to. Because I mean,
same here.
Matt Murdock killed so many people. He come with blood. Oh, what should I do? Well, I'm like, no, what? Anyway, that was a good scene. I just thought it was interesting that certain superhero movies introduced the concept of God into it. They're interacting with God. Others, he doesn't really exist, but it just seems kind of looks like DCEU doesn't have a problem with it.
No, but Marvel, because he's supposed to be right.
Yeah, Marvel, they don't kind of talk about God too much, like God or Satan or good and evil.
They do. They have the realms and stuff.
Yeah, realms, like realms. But I think DC, I'm sorry, it's called DCEU. It's DC to me. DC is more grounded. They're like, there's a God and there's Satan. And I go to church and I go to confessional,
Exactly. But yeah, now donning his Kryptonian suit, Clark flies to Edward Air Force Base where he surrenders himself to General Clavin Swanswick and Colonel Hardy's forces on the condition that Lois be freed. Lois interviews Clark on his origins and notes that the House of L crest looks like the letter S, giving her an idea for an alien of allies Clark can use. In the middle of the desert, Zod's ship lands where they are greeted by who demands that Lois come along too. Despite Hardy's protest, Lois obliges as they were being brought aboard the Black Zero. Cal slips her the command key. Lois is given a visor to help her breathe. As the atmosphere comes to composition aboard Black Zero is toxic to humans, and Cal collapses. Weakened and coughing up blood due to having adapted the Earth's atmosphere, he is stabbled down onto a table. In his weakened state, it meets General Zod in a mental projection. Zod explains that after he and his followers escaped the Phantom Zone and proposed the Black Zero's Phantom Zone projector into a hyperdrive, they searched through abandoned Kryptonian outposts for supplies and other possible survivors. Due to Clark's activation of the old Kryptonian ship, they picked up the signal and put out to track it to Earth. Zod offers Cal the chance to bring Kryptonians back. However, Zod plans to use Earth as the foundation, which will wipe out all of humanity. Cal refuses to go along with this. Zod then reveals he killed Jor-El and then leaves to search for the Codex. So there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the fact that, he winds up surrendering himself to the Air Force Base, and then, we have that scene where Superman winds up getting questioned by Lois.
Yes, it's interesting that they wanted her to come too. I don't know why, but I found that interesting. I like both women in both Superman films. Like, I don't know what her name is. I want to call her Uhura, but that's Star Trek. Whatever her name is, Mrs. X. I like her. I like the designs of the suits when they come out. They look like real aliens. They look very intimidating. I don't know. It's just a lot going on in this scene. It's like so many things we can talk about, but we don't have time to talk about all.
Well, what I was gonna do was we can actually. How did you? I want to split this up since this is so much of a deep dive.
Okay, good.
So because we're at an hour and 32 minutes, guys.
Yes.
So let's go on ahead. Let's stop it right here at the Air Force Base.
Okay.
And then we'll go in with part 2 of the review, because seriously, this is a 2.5 hour and 22-minute movie.
Yes.
So I want to do this. I want to do a deep dive on this. And in order to do this right, guys, we're going to split this up into 2 parts.
Okay.
So we'll get up with Tamika on when she can come back to do a 2-parter with it. But yeah, I definitely enjoy this deep dive for the first half of this, because I feel like we need to talk about this and compare it to the other ones, and then do our Superman ranking of all the films, all except this one, because it's separate from Christopher Reeves. But I just feel like there's a lot to talk about. It gives you a lot of humanization with this one compared to the Christopher Reeves ones. Yes. A lot of layers to pull on. I just feel like there's a lot of deep stuff that we can go off of. So guys, we're going to pause it right here. But I hope that you guys come back again and check out our part 2 review of Man of Steel, because you know what? Part 1 is just getting, in my opinion, we're actually giving this a sequel that it actually deserved with doing a review for Man of Steel. Right? So thank you guys so much for watching and stuff like that. And do me a big favor, coming up on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, we will have comedian Josh Prey with us.
Awesome.
And we're going to be, Rossie and I are going to be interviewing him and stuff like that. We might have some other announcements to go along with him. So go on and check that out. I will be back again very soon with some more reviews. So don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe button. Also, too, give us a 5-star rating on wherever you guys get your podcast from, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever. But yeah, guys, thank you so much, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.